If you love your mother's generation so much, just date somebody in her generation. Leave us alone. Hey ladies, welcome back to my channel. How you doing? Hope you guys are having a great week so far. As you know, this is your daily dose of truth, no fluff, no filters. So let's get into it. So I created a poll yesterday, I believe, or a day ago, and the question was, hold on, what intimidates men the most about independent women? And the results were too real. So I'm going to go not in any particular order. The first one is losing financial control, and 15% of people agree that it's about losing financial control. For most men, they only feel in control when you are, struggling, when you're below them. They only feel that sense of power when they know you have nowhere to go, you can't escape. Why do you think they're so in love with their mother's generation? Because their mothers were not able to escape. They were forced to be baby making machines and just be incubators and be made to their fathers and not being able to leave. Not once did they truly sit down and ask their mothers, hey, did you actually love my dad? Like, did you truly enjoy this marriage, or were you just obligated and forced, not just by your family members, but by society and also by your financial situation? Is that why you stayed with my father? And the answer would flow. Well, the answers will start flowing and men will truly know the truth, but they don't want to know the truth. They only want to reminisce on those olden days. And if you love your mother's generation so much, just date somebody in her generation. Leave us alone. Okay, and sitting at number 2 is no longer being needed, and that got 30%. 30% of vote. This one exposes men because you realize that men don't want to be chosen. They want to feel needed. If they are needed, right, it means the woman can't escape. You have nowhere to go. And if they lose that type of power where they can't control you, you're independent, you're able to take care of yourself, then what's left for them? The power, or I should say the legacy of low achievement won't allow them to meet your standards and expectations. So the best way they can control you and get you to do what they want is by having full control over the finances. And if you're not dependent on them, they start crying. Okay, the third one kind of got me, and it's fear of equality, and it only got 7%. The amount of videos that I have, and I also put some in there for this video, I want you guys to see this. Okay, I understand 7%, but my opinion is so many men feel uncomfortable, inadequate the minute their wives, their partners start making more money than them. Okay, we have men convincing their women to quit their jobs because she's making more money. And they brand it as, oh, it's soft life. I'm giving you a soft life. You don't have to worry. I got you. I got us. While they're making less than what you're originally making. I'm surprised you got 7%, but I mean, that's just my opinion. I feel like it's crazy. And last but not least, the last answer was their own insecurities. That sat at 48%. Bingo! Ding, 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 ding. Listen, they project their own insecurities on you, right? All women are doing is just existing, leveling up, and doing better for themselves. And then they come around and say, well, it's you being masculine. No, you're just insecure and you're just projecting. I'm not going to make myself small so you can feel big. Like, gosh, they're so emotional. Anyways, the truth is, it's not independent women that scares them. It's not independence that scares them. It's being irrelevant. It's women not paying attention to them. They crave our attention. Anyways, let's get started on the video.
We don't acknowledge on the left is that women aren't interested in mating with men who aren't economically viable.
And the reason we don't acknowledge it is because it's a complete fabrication, a total lie. This idea that women are avaricious, gold-digging vampires who won't even look at a man unless he earns 6 figures is just unrestrained misogyny. But before I talk about that, I want to talk about something else Professor Galloway said in that clip.
No group has fallen further faster in our nation than young men.
And the context here is regarding women who are attaining greater levels of education and more financial success, with Galloway saying that young men as a result have fallen off, except, like his earlier comment, this is also not true. High school education for men has improved year on year on year for the last 60 years. There's been no drop, no fall off. Now you will notice around 2000 that women start to pull ahead of men. This has also been the case for college education. While there's been a slight dip post-COVID, overall the trend is still the same, that year on year more men are attaining college education. And while women are attaining those levels of education at higher rates, this starts to feel like the video I did on Lego patriarchy, where even though men are advancing and gaining higher levels of education, because they are no longer the front runners and women have pulled ahead, that suddenly it feels like oppression. And if we're going to talk economic viability, then it's worth pointing out that men of every education level, even those who did not complete high school, still out-earn women by 20% or more. So let's go back to this idea that women won't date broke men. First off, go talk to any woman. Nearly all of them have dated a broke man that they financially supported at some point in their life. In fact, so commonplace is this idea that women will date a third-string musician, actor, artist, or DJ, that not only is it a trope, but it's also a running gag.
There's no mystic bad feeling under your ribs going, hey, maybe don't date a DJ again.
Women have no problem dating a broke man. Broke men, on the other hand, have real problems with successful women. A study looked into levels of distress among heterosexual couples and their relative spousal incomes. And for women, what they found was, regardless of whether they started out the relationship earning more or less than their partner, their levels of distress were relatively consistent, regardless of if they earned none of the income or all of the income, with their least amount of distress being where there was an equal partnership of income. But for men who start out earning more than their wives, if their wives suddenly start earning more than they do, their distress levels go through the frickin' roof. But interestingly, that curve going down is men who started relationships where their wives already out-earned them. They're perfectly content and their stress levels only go up as they're asked to share more of the financial burden. Understandable. So men are just as economically viable as they always have been, and women will continue to date broke men. The issue they can no longer afford is their misogyny. It is their insecurities, not their bank account, that is preventing them from having successful relationships.
Women don't really need men anymore, unfortunately. And here are the reasons why. In today's day and age, guys think they go to work, they come home, they play their video games, they watch their football games, they hang out on the couch playing with their phone, they go out with their friends, and that is their day. What do women bring to the table? They take care of the house, everything looks great, take care of the kids. Hey, by the way, are we going to the parent-teacher conference? No, mom's going. Hey, did you schedule that doctor's appointment? Mom's got it. Guys, we've got to bring more to the table. If you want to feel needed and wanted by women these days, do everything like they do. Match their energy.
It is so scary and weird how some men will be drawn to or will intentionally seek out women who are bright lights just to become insecure or resentful of the very same thing they were drawn to. Then attempt to extinguish or dim the lights of their partners and make women feel small. I was thinking about this whole Tiana Taylor thing, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, Tiana Taylor filed for divorce from Iman Shumpert, and some of the details leaked. And one of the issues that she's allegedly citing is one of the reasons for the divorce is, listen to this. She says she began to intentionally dim her life for her husband to try to have a harmonious and peaceful marriage, as Iman became more and more angry about her stardom. So apparently because of this, she was turning down recording gigs, acting gigs. Let me tell you something. Dating a man that is insecure and jealous of you and your success or how people view you or how people love you is the ghetto gutter hell. And I'm truly sorry for her and any woman that's gone through this. And I think it's actually quite common that a lot of women have gone through this. And women, you can tell me in the comments. You know, sometimes it shows up in the littlest ways. I've dated men for sure that I would notice wouldn't compliment me, which is very confusing because it's like, why are you dating someone you can't compliment? And one time, one of them actually told me it's because I was already getting so many compliments online. Imagine being that weird and insecure. You're with a girl boss, a good soul, and a bad bitch in real life. And instead of celebrating that and being inspired by that and being proud of that, you're insecure. And I honestly truly don't get how some of these men's egos work. Like, if you're dating a boss-ass woman who's loved and respected in her field and is even using her connections to help further your career, because that's what Tiana also said she was doing, how does that not make you proud? Like, at the end of the day, insecurity is a bitch. And a lot of these men are going to end up suffering in the end because of it.
Trying to convince their wife to be a stay-at-home mom. I want her to quit working. We finally got to that point financially to where the money that she makes really does no good for her. I would much rather have her home to where she can help me make more money, making my meals, cleaning the house, handling all the grocery shopping. The kids are both of our jobs. I'm still bathing, cooking, doing school drop-offs and pickups, doctor's appointments, all those things for my kids. But I need my wife home to help make my life easier so I can make a.
This is really interesting to me because he is selling her on a faux soft life. What he believes is going to make her life easier, create a soft life for her, is actually her just doing a bunch of unpaid labor to benefit him. Everything that she's going to be doing, cooking for him, making him sandwiches, doing his laundry, he is treating it as if it is not nearly as important as the work that she's doing, which, by the way, his wife, I think, holds like 3 degrees or something. He even goes on to say that he kind of holds it over her head when she comes home and she's tired, and he's like, hey, you don't have to be doing all this. You could just be working to make me more money. And did you catch that? So I can make more money. This man is a creator and a fighter, both of which are very unstable jobs. As someone who is a creator, I understand this. It is dangerous for women to buy into this idea of a man's potential because he feels like he is the master at his craft and that he's going to provide for you and give you this soft life. And really, it's just you doing a bunch of unpaid labor to make him more money, where you forego career advancements, you forego retirement savings, you forego Social Security. This is how women get bamboozled. This is how women end up losing out in marriages and relationships. They are sold a man's potential. If you have a husband or you have a man who is telling you that he wants you to leave the workforce and be a stay-at-home wife, you need to full stop initiate a post-nuptial agreement right now. He's not just asking you to take a career pause, he's asking you to take a hit to your career earnings and potential that you will be missing out on when you leave the workforce to help him make more money.
Women of this generation are no longer submissive. Everybody wants to be woke. I can't believe my marriage is about to fail because my wife has blatantly refused to resign from her job. This is the same woman I trained in school with my hard-earned money. I am no longer comfortable with my wife being a career woman. Gone are the days when women would do whatever it takes to keep their home. But now, women could care less. I met my wife when she was an undergraduate, and when I discovered the passion she had for school and how she wanted to attend the university, I didn't object to it because I loved her. After she gave birth, she started talking about getting a job. At first, I didn't think it was a problem. I even supported her in searching for a job online, after which she finally got a good paying job in an oil company. Let me be truthful. My wife is very smart, and since she started working, she has been getting promotions upon promotions. I am not jealous of my wife, and I have been a supportive husband. Last Christmas, I went to their end of the year party. It was a beautiful event till my wife started getting recognized. Her boss started singing praises of her, saying wonderful things. In fact, she even won the best staff of the year. My wife was just there, gushing, smiling while her boss was saying those nice things to her. After then, I told her I didn't want her to work again. Isn't this enough reason? Why will a man be praising another man's wife in public in such a manner? And my wife, what did she do in return? Smile sheepishly while I died in silence. I told her to continue being a housewife, but she refused, saying she's career oriented. Is her career more than her marriage? Someone I traveled all the way to the east to pay her bride price in full. I take care of my wife. In fact, the money she earns from working is her personal money. I am capable of feeding her, our children, and every other person, including her extended family. Why is this job so important to her? Every now and then, my wife calls her boss, sir. This is something I am not okay with. I never thought her getting a job would become an issue. And that's why I supported her in the first place. That is why I even trained her. But now, it's all looking like a big mistake. I am at home. My wife doesn't call me sir, although she gives me my respect. But why must she call her boss sir? Whenever he calls her, she would always jump to answer the phone, always ready to work, always ready to answer his emails. I don't know what is going on at work. I have never suspected my wife of cheating, and to be honest, that is not even the reason why I don't want her to work anymore. But I can't take this any longer. It's either she chooses the marriage or she chooses a career. I'm sending this to you to tell me what to do. I don't want her to work. Yes, she can survive without having a career,
I am enough for her. I am enough for the family. I am enough for the children. Please, am I being a bad husband? Why are women no longer submissive? Is it that difficult?
Watch this, and then we'll come back and discuss.
Majority of you motherfuckers ain't successful because of the person you dealing with.
Well, that's the confirmation I needed to come on here and tell y'all the truth. All my ladies, my boss women, my divas who have businesses, creatives, my intelligent women who are getting their degrees and whatever and what have you, please be careful of the men that you allow in your life, even the ones that are friends, even the people that are in managerial positions, because there are so many men in this world who are intimidated by confident, strong women who are smart, who are business minded, who just have their own things going on. They will literally get with you and then break you down. I am living proof. It's happened to me constantly over the past 6 or 7 years, and I am exhausted. And it's taken everything for me to get my life back. So save yourself.
She is not lying. Anytime that I have been able to accomplish something great, and I said this under someone else's video the other day, it was when I was single, when I did not have a man around. Some of the men that I have dealt with did not want to see me level up. Why? Because they were stagnant and still in the same place. Meanwhile, I'm progressing and I'm doing better. I'm making moves. I've even had men who were jealous at the fact that I traveled so often. To which one told me, why do you need so many experiences? Why do you always have to be doing something? So what you want me to do, just sit by and let life pass me by and never experience anything? Because that's what you're doing? I've met men who were completely comfortable making $30,000 a year. Meanwhile, they paid child support, so they weren't even bringing home $30,000. Men who are insecure will always be the ones that try to humble you. And that goes for the men who jump in my comment section every time I say something that they don't like. I'm not going to sit around and be mediocre because the guy that I'm dealing with has decided in his brain that he's going to be mediocre. I'm going to move on from you. The guy that I used to date, him and I got into an argument one day because every time I turn around, y'all know I like to dress up when I go out. I'm a little cute. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull all this together and I'm going to step, okay? But every time I got dressed, that man always has something negative to say. He would legit try to humble me. And it's the same thing I tell everybody. You can't humble me. It's impossible. And he was very insecure. He was 38. Balding. I didn't even know he was that bald at the time because he kept his hair shaved. But when I finally did see it, it was George Jefferson style. So he's 38, bald. I didn't even know how much money he made. Kind of find out he was making $10, $11 an hour. And you live with your mama, to which you had to lie and say your mama had cancer. And he couldn't keep said job. He stayed broke because he ate out all the time. It's so easy to date within your league and try instead of trying to lower women to your standards.
So what I meant when I said that this is not back in the 50s and the 60s is that women have put themselves in positions to where they don't need a man financially. Not all women, but most women have put themselves in a position to where they don't need a man financially, right? Which means you're not going to just treat me any kind of way just because you're paying all the bills in the household, because guess what? I can do it too. So I don't have to deal with your bullshit. That is what I'm saying. Back then, your mama ain't had no other choice but to deal with your cheating ass daddy. You know why? Because she didn't have options. Right? She didn't have no money. All she knew how to do was cook, clean, take care of the house, take care of the kids. That's what she knew how to do. So where was she going at? Nowadays, we have option, guys. We have options. All right? So it's not just a matter of, oh, we need a man to take care of us, because we don't. A lot of us don't. I'm not looking for you to come and just pay all my bills and then you gonna treat me any kind of way? Or because you pay the bills, you feel like you could cheat on me? No, I didn't agree to that shit. I didn't agree to that. So that's not what we're doing. So that is what I meant when I said this is not back in the 50s and the 60s.
This might be a hot take, but all of the hot, successful, really driven women are in their single girl era right now. And I think that's because it's almost impossible to find a man who matches your energy, let alone bring something to the table that you don't have. And we are all looking for partners that add something to our lives, and we can't find someone who is better than us. I'm not even trying to sound conceited. There are so many hot, successful ladies right now. We are going off. And the men just can't keep up. So, am I going insane, or is this true? Let me know what you...
You're delusional if you don't think hypergamy is a problem. Now, hypergamy has become a common talking point for red pill podcasts who like to explain away the rise of young, lonely single men by the fact that women are too picky, that they are evolutionarily hardwired to only go after men of a higher economic or social status than them, and they ignore all of the men below them. The problem is that in order to skirt around the fact that a lot of the data, like that which I've already shown, doesn't support this fact, they have to broaden the definition of hypergamy so wide, it becomes virtually meaningless.
I think the very
If you don't already follow Fahar, please go do so. She's incredibly smart. And what's interesting is she's doing exactly what podcast bros say women should be doing, in not being promiscuous, in being very specific about her choice of partner, and yet she still ends up being criticized for being too picky, for being hypergamous, proving that the only consistency is that no matter how a woman behaves, these men will find some reason to shame and criticize her. But this discussion also brings up the debate. Is women's hypergamy a result of a social behavior due to historically not being in control of their own economic and social destinies, and so having to marry a man in order to elevate themselves? Or, as the podcast bros put it, this is an evolutionary adaptation. Women are now hardwired to this behavior and utterly incapable of escaping it, despite what they may say. This, of course, lets men off the hook, and to do this, they point to the fact that women prefer men who make more as proof of this. But men also exhibit this preference, just to a lesser degree, and who wouldn't want a partner who makes more? I would love a partner who made more money. Fly me around the world, sugar mama. But what you'll never see them do is point to actual studies on hypergamy. 2 years ago, a study was published that looked at exactly the kind of educational hypergamy that Galloway was talking about across 27 European countries, where the educational advantage towards women has existed for longer than the US. And they looked at women's educational advantage and those countries' prevalence of hypergamy. They then mapped those against each other, as well as separated out the oldest cohort in red from the youngest cohort, those born in 1980 or later, millennials, in black. And as you can see, that as countries shift and gain a greater educational advantage towards women over to the right, they also decrease in hypergamy. Not only that, but they dip below the zero line, showing that there's actually a higher incidence of hypogamous relationships, where women are dating down. Another study looked at how gender equality relates to those dating preferences, looking specifically at a number of gender-coded preferences, such as age, attractiveness, being a good cook and housekeeper, versus income level, education, intelligence, and social status. And what they found was the greater the gender parity in that country, the weaker those gender preferences were. Which makes obvious sense. The more you are in control of your own financial stability, the less you need to seek that out in a partner. But the decline of hypergamy isn't even that new. A study from 1968 took a broader look at hypergamy in order to answer the question of do American women marry up, by looking at the occupations of the fathers of both husband and wife. And then they took those occupations and put them into different classes based on their economic and social status to see whether there had been any movement. And then mapped out how many men and women had moved up or down their social class through marriage. And what they found was that 250,000 more women married down than up, but that as a percentage of the overall population, this wasn't significant, and that overall it's a wash. There was no tendency to marry up or down for women. As one of these studies points out, this disproves that this is evolutionarily hardwired into women. The only delusion around hypergamy is in thinking that it still exists or has been an issue for men for the last 50 years. And this is what Peterson, Galloway, and these podcast bros don't get. That if your concern is genuinely for men who are struggling and not forming relationships, then you should be advocating for women's greater education and income, because that has been the single biggest factor turning around the trend of hypergamy into hypogamy and women dating down globally. But that would mean admitting that women do date down and that men are no longer the top of the food chain. And I'm not quite sure their fragile egos are ready for that yet.
Thank you so much for making it this far into the video. If you like these type of topics, I post every morning and every evening. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Let's continue this conversation down in the comments.